parliament is elected. In December of that year, for the first time in the country's history, a president is elected. So you look at 2011 to today, in less than 6 years, you have multiple handing over of power on multiple instances. You had in total um, 5 presidents during that period and a number of prime ministers. You have an Islamist party ceding power when it felt that it was not in its best interest or in the best interest of Tunisia to continue to be in power. You have a secular, civil, progressive constitution adopted. Wow. I mean, when you look at what was happening in Egypt, perhaps the closest comparison, because that's where we thought there was a true Arab Spring happening, and when you compare it to the crises that we have been facing everywhere else, the question then becomes, what gives? What is it that is so special about Tunisia? And what I argue in my book is that there are a number of factors. There are 4 in particular that I focus my attention on. All of them having to do with reform, and all of them having to do with the development and the evolution of a specific Tunisian identity, which I'll come back to towards the end in a few minutes. But those 4 factors are the role of civil society, when we talked about that, so the labor movement, its strength and its role during the revolution and post the revolution is not to be underestimated, but also it had other important roles that perhaps we don't think of as clearly. One is it gave Tunisians practice with procedural democracy. There's this huge organization that impacts every household in Tunisia, and had done so for almost a century, where there are elections, there is debate, there is procedural democracy at work. And I think that actually played a very, very big role. Political parties were also allowed to exist. It was, things were corrupt and they did not really have much power, but at least they were not outlawed the way that they were outlawed in other countries. So civil society. The second, which doesn't come as a big surprise to anybody who knows Tunisia, was women's rights. Women's rights have always been far more advanced in Tunisia than they are in the rest of the Arab world and much of the Muslim world. So in 1956, the year the country became independent from the French, one of the first acts of the President Habib Bourguiba was to enact a code statut personnel, a family status code, that gave women more rights than they enjoy today in any Arab country today. Example, polygamy. Polygamy today is legal for a Muslim man in all Arab countries. Where there have been advances in places like Jordan and Morocco, and Sharia, which is a living organism, it's not written in the Quran, but it is what sort of codifies, if you will, Islamic law, allows a Muslim man under certain circumstances to marry up to 4 wives. Those circumstances are not really looked at with any kind of scrutiny.